Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to like. The production for One More Chance was a nightmare. Before the day of our first shoot, which was the street scene with Ryan, James, my cousin Eddie, and myself, I lost the camera operator. I was originally supposed to have 2 camera operators, but the day before, one of my camera operators hit me up and said, "Hey, I can't make it," and made up some excuse, and I never heard from him again. So already off to a bad start, losing some crew. I also had to prepare all of my equipment in the smallest car ever. Well, it's not the smallest car ever, but it's the smallest car to pack all your equipment in, which is a Honda Fit. The car, definitely being a hatchback, helps out a lot more because I can stack things in the hatchback body shape. But let me tell you, it was a tight fit. I barely managed to get everything in there. It's lights, cameras, stands, C-stands, the table that we had to build for my cousin Eddie's character. And all the setup itself took about 2 hours because we had to paint our canvas, that is the scene, the set. We had to light everything properly. I had to figure out where I was going to put my microphone in relationship to the characters because we didn't have a boom operator either. It's literally just, at this point, the crew is me and Vishnu, who is my cinematographer, and Chris, one of my other jiu-jitsu training partners, came in a little later to help out also because he was my behind the scenes guy doing all the footage for day one. And so he kind of became a member of the crew as well, helping out with some things on set. If you're curious at all, we were using the Canon 5D Mark IV to film this short film. It was shot with Canon log. So if you were wondering at all about what gear we were using, it was the Canon 5D Mark IV, primarily with the 50mm and the 100mm L series lenses. We also mixed in a couple others, but the 50 and the 100 were the lenses we used primarily. Back to production. I also had to have Eddie build the merchant table. I went to IKEA and bought this table that we could use for the film because we just needed something that we could put onto wheels so that he could drag it in and out of the scene because there's a scene where he disappears. So I needed to be able to just drag that table just right out of the frame. So Eddie spent a good amount of time just building that table. That really helped out as far as me and Vishnu having to set up the rest of the set because, you know, a crew really is important for your film depending on all the elements that are involved in your film. So when you're preparing to make your film, if you're writing and directing, specifically in the writing process, you have to take into account all the people that need to be required to make the film happen. If there's not a lot going on in your film as far as props and preparation, you can get away with just making the film by yourself. But if you have lots of props, if you need to set up lights in a very specific manner, and you only have so much time, a crew is necessary. However, like I said, I was just losing crew. So my crew shortened down to 4 people. It was myself, Vishnu, my cousin Eddie, and Chris. And I was fortunate to have them kind of step in as crew because Eddie was technically just supposed to be one of my actors, and Chris was just supposed to be one of my behind the scenes video photo people. And Vishnu was supposed to be my cinematographer. But this is what happens when you're working on small projects, is that everyone kind of has to wear multiple hats. I, as the writer, director, and I had to be the antagonist, and I had to be a camera operator, and I was doing the most. So when it's your project, you kind of have to know how to do everything because you never know who's going to bail on you. Now, when it comes to the filming, I wanted to get the scene with Eddie and Ryan done first. That was my priority because here's the thing with my cousin Eddie. Everyone loves him. He's hilarious. He's like, I don't know how to explain it. He's like the Mexican version of Jack Black. Not Nacho Libre, I mean like California Mexican, okay? If Jack Black had been born in our family, he basically would end up being Eddie. Anyways, my cousin Eddie cannot remember to save his own life the lines written on any script. And I've worked with him on some other projects, and this has always been the thing with my cousin Eddie, is just that he cannot remember the lines for anything. He couldn't remember them if you put a gun to his head. So what I have to do when I'm working with him on films is that it's all improv. So I had to explain this to Ryan that, hey, my cousin Eddie cannot remember lines. So what's going to happen is, because Ryan, the professional that he is, I was basically telling Ryan that your lines are going to remain the same and Eddie's going to improv his lines. And when they were first meeting too, Ryan, I remember he had came up to me. He was like, "Man, this guy's hilarious. Where'd you find him?" I was like, "Yeah, I find him. I didn't find him. He's my cousin." Anyways, so I have to explain to Eddie what the scene is about, what is important to happen in the scene. I give him key details of information to remember so that he has a direction to run on. And I explain to Eddie, Ryan's goal is to come to you as this street merchant to buy some jewelry for his date. And then I also had to explain to Eddie that you're kind of a shady character. You're a little untrustworthy. Imagine that you stole all this jewelry and it is your goal to just get rid of the jewelry as fast as possible. So it doesn't matter what Ryan would have picked up. You just want to agree with him that it's a good choice. He should buy it and get the hell out of there. However, he's going to pick one particular jewel that you know someone is looking for. So you're just going to encourage him to buy it and then you're going to disappear. Anyways, doing this improv scene took up a lot of time because, like I said, he's improvising and there was a lot of kind of figuring it out as they were acting. I mean, that's improv. So with a lot of the time being taken up on Eddie and Ryan's performance, which I really enjoyed, I'm glad the way it came out, it did take away from the following scene, which was the conflict between my character and Ryan's character. So we were really cut short for time on the conflict, the choreography, the combat choreography that was supposed to happen between me and Ryan, which is why, as I explained in the choreography part of this behind the scenes, I really wish I would have had my camera operator with us training the choreography in the gym so that he can also get used to the choreography of the camera in relationship to the combat, because it would have made things go a lot smoother the day of shooting. But you know what? You win some, you lose some. And then we also had the problem with the necklace floating effect, which I also explained in the props portion of this behind the scenes, is that when I was practicing this levitating technique, I was like, sweet, I understand how to do this. But when we were on set, I had asked my cousin Eddie, hey, I need you to basically lift this necklace. We used some fishing wire to string the necklace to our C-stand that we had on set, and basically had to lift the arm of the C-stand in order to get the necklace to float. But because it was my cousin Eddie's first time even trying to get this effect down, it did not go smoothly. So we had to basically use the best take we had, which was still a little janky. It wasn't good, but we had to do with what we had. Wrapping up on day one was also difficult because we can't go over the amount of time that we rented the studio for. We literally had to grab all of our equipment from the studio, drag it into the parking lot, and finish packing up in the parking lot so that we didn't get charged for more time. Depending on the studio you rent, sometimes they might be generous and give you more time to pack up. But if not, they will charge you for an extra hour of studio time. And depending on how much the studio costs, it can eat up your budget. For both locations on One More Chance, it costs over $1,400 per day for each location. And that's 8 hours. So it was 8 hours, and I forget the number for each location, but they were both over the $1,400 limit. That's expensive out here in California. But let's move on to day two. I have to pack up the smallest car again, it's the Honda Fit. And this time I don't have Chris or Eddie to help out on set. I am down now 2 more crew members have been completely eliminated. So now it's just me and Vishnu running around and doing everything. And it is a lot more difficult because I'm performing in the film. I am the antagonist. I also have to get into makeup, this effect of being an explosion. So I have Vishnu, I have Barbara, I have Ryan, I have the makeup lady. Everyone is asking me questions simultaneously as I'm trying to get my character makeup done so I look like I just got out of an explosion. And I'm also trying to make sure that the set is being set up in a timely manner, preparing mentally for my 2 main characters, my main and my co-main, Barbara and James. I'm trying to mentally prepare for how I'm going to direct them and get them performances I need to get out of them. Everything is just chaotic on day 2 because I have less people and I have more to worry about. Another thing too, as I discussed in the bloopers segment, there was a lot of outside noise because we were a lot closer to downtown LA. So just all of the sounds of the jungle that is downtown Los Angeles was interrupting in certain parts of our production.
It's fucking World War Z outside. I just work here.
Like, the crime's on the other side of LA.
I know, right?
Quick, report something.
I was just gonna say, U.S. citizen. Okay.
So that was another thing that was concerning as far as eating up time, because we'd have to pause here and there to wait till like the outside noise would settle down a bit. And day 2, there was less characters because it was primarily the server, Barbara, and James, and I come in for like 10 seconds, if that. But it was more difficult because the lack of crew, again, eats up the setup time and the set down time, and the constant pausing because of the downtown LA noises was interrupting the sound of our film. That's another thing too. Because both spaces were very big, there was a noticeable acoustic for both locations. So I think the biggest issue that I have with my short film is that the audio, as much as I tried to remove the reverb, I'm not satisfied with the way the sound quality came out. But also, I didn't hire a boom operator, someone who could professionally make sure there was less reverb and, really take care of the audio details. I'm already spending money for my actors, my makeup artists, my cinematographer, my behind the scenes guy. The money's going to every little piece of this production. So it's sometimes you have to sacrifice a member of your crew and kind of handle that responsibility on your own. Like I said, I'm the director, I'm the writer, I'm the editor. I had to worry about the sound, which again, the sound really is my fault. The choreography not being as clean as I want it is also my fault because I should have had Vishnu or a camera operator practice with us as we were rehearsing the choreography way before the film. So there's a lot of things that I'm not satisfied with from the film, but all these things that I'm not satisfied with are my fault for not being more prepared. I think also because of the acoustics in the restaurant, I really could have fixed that problem by changing one line in the story, and I think it would have helped sell it to the audience a lot better. And that one line would have came from the server, where he comes to Barbara or Belle and asks, "Excuse me, miss, can I get you another glass of water?" Or he says something, he offers something to her. What I should have changed that line to is, "Excuse me, miss, but we're closing soon." Because then it would have really sold that it's so empty in here. And also because I didn't have money for extras, and I didn't have friends that would just come and be extras for free for 8 hours. So I couldn't really create an environment in the bar to make it seem like it was packed and that she was alone waiting for her date. So I really could have just made a massive improvement to the story if I would have just had the server change the line to, "We're closing soon," like you're the last person here. Again, you live and you learn. You win some and you lose some. Another thing too that I would say is I would have, for the next film that I have choreography for, any kind of combat choreography, I would like to have a budget to film on a separate day. This way I can get the performances, the narrative performances done on one day and then get the choreography performance on a different day. This way I'm not worried about I have to get the performance done as fast as possible and then get the choreography done as fast as possible and then not get the quality of performance that I want. But yet again, I have to thank Ryan James for being the professional that he is because his performance really held the film together. And I am super grateful to have worked with him, and I hope to work with him again in the future. Barbara, again, I've been friends with her for years. I'm sure I'm going to work with her in many films later on. Eddie is my cousin, so you guys at some point will probably see him again. But yeah, that's how the production went for One More Chance. For more uneducated expert analysis on film and cinema and the creative field in general, follow us on Twitter at ghettoplex_mp4, on Instagram at ghettoplex.mp4, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ghettoplex.